Greetings to all viewers of Freedom TV channel. Thank you for joining us to watch and analyze the events happening in Ukraine and around the world. These are the main news stories at this hour. This is Yuri Kulinich in the studio. A Russian drone struck a 9-story building in Kramatorsk, Donetsk region, resulting in the death of one person. 5 residents were rescued. A massive fire broke out in 2 entrances, from the 1st to the 8th floor. The fire has already been extinguished, according to the State Emergency Service of Ukraine. On emergency situations, 13 people were injured as a result of shelling in the Kherson region. Russia fired artillery and used attack drones, according to local authorities. Kherson itself was under attack, and at least 30 more settlements as well. The Russians targeted critical and social infrastructure, as well as residential neighborhoods. 6 apartment buildings and over 100 private houses were damaged. The Odesa region also came under fire during the night. Russia launched a massive drone strike on the southern part of the region. According to local authorities, a fire broke out at an energy facility. That's why there are power outages in the region. Critical infrastructure facilities are operating on generators. An administrative building and houses in the private sector were also damaged. Fortunately, there were no fatalities or injuries. 2 people were injured as a result of Russian attacks on the Dnipropetrovsk region. The Russians struck the Mesritska community with Cob bombs, used drones against the Lishkovska community, and shelled the Krovka community with artillery. Today, Dnipro is in mourning for those killed in yesterday's Russian attack. It is known that at least 4 people were killed, and at least 45 others were injured, 10 of whom are in serious condition. Let me remind you that the day before, the Russian army struck the central district with an Iskander ballistic missile. Apartment buildings, administrative offices, a car service station, and an educational institution were damaged. In Kyiv, a man who was wounded during the shelling has died in the hospital, November 29th. This was reported by the city mayor, Vitaly Klitschko. According to him, the man was in serious condition in the hospital. Thus, this is the 3rd victim of the massive Russian strike on the capital. The Italian government has approved the 12th package of military aid to Ukraine. The decree was signed by the country's Minister of Defense, Guido Crosetto. The document authorizes the transfer of vehicles, materials, and equipment to Kyiv. The list is provided in a classified document compiled by the General Staff of the Italian Armed Forces. Its contents, as in previous cases, have not been published for security reasons. I should note that since the start of the full-scale invasion, the Meloni government has sent Ukraine 11 packages of military aid, totaling about 3 billion euros. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte and Ukraine's Defense Minister Denis Shmyhal discussed strengthening Ukraine's air defense. Their meeting took place yesterday in Brussels. The parties also discussed the situation at the front and the priority needs of the armed forces of Ukraine.
To counter Russian missile and drone terror, additional systems and missiles for them are needed. They also focus specifically on the role of the Pearl Initiative, which is critically important for stable supplies. He emphasized that Ukraine continues to adapt its defense sector to NATO standards and principles, and to implement joint projects with its partners.
The president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelenskyy, is on a visit to Ireland. At Dublin Airport, he and the First Lady were greeted by the country's Prime Minister, Michael Martin. The head of the Irish government expressed solidarity with the Ukrainian people who continue their fight for freedom and democracy. Earlier, Zelenskyy announced that a Ukrainian delegation would also arrive in Ireland to report on the results of negotiations with the United States of America. These talks, as a reminder, took place in Miami on November 30th. The administration of Donald Trump views the chances of ending Russia's war against Ukraine positively. This was stated by White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt. According to her, the president's team is making every effort for a peaceful resolution. Leavitt described the negotiations between Ukraine and the U.S. and Florida as productive.
This is a kind of shuttle diplomacy that you've seen from the administration, where we communicate equally with both sides. We have put our points down on paper. These points have been thoroughly worked out, but as for the details, I'll let the negotiators handle the discussion themselves. We're feeling quite positive and hope that this work will finally be completed.
And today at the White House, as expected, U.S. President Donald Trump will make a statement. This follows from his schedule. And most likely, the topic will also include peace talks on resolving Russia's war against Ukraine. The address is scheduled for 9 p.m. Kyiv time. Meanwhile, Donald Trump's special envoy, Stephen Witkoff, is heading to Moscow. His talks with Putin are expected to take place around 4 p.m. Kiev time. This was reported by the press secretary of the Russian dictator, Dmitry Peskov. Russia launched more than 60 drones at Ukraine on Tuesday night. About 35 of them were Shaheds, according to the Air Force of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Ukrainian air defenders neutralized 39 UAVs of various types in the north, south, and east of the country. Hits were recorded at 8 locations.
But Ukrainian military intelligence struck an important element of the Russian air defense system in Donbas. This was reported by the Main Intelligence Directorate of the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, which also released a video of the operation. The operation was successfully carried out on November 29th. During the attack, 1 launcher and 2 radar stations were hit by the intelligence operatives. Such strikes significantly reduced the Russians' ability to control the airspace over Donbas, Ukrainian intelligence emphasized.
Subscribe to UATV English and stay updated on the most important events, top news from Ukraine and all over the world, in-depth analysis, exclusive reports and interviews, all on hand in our channel. Join our community of viewers and stay tuned.